right. Shout out to the mighty Who Dat Nation. Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Cone with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, and educating, enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to you guys for being in this stream, man. We up in this thing. Much love to the fam on this one, man. Listen, it's Patreon Tuesday. Just a notification for the Patreon family members out there on this quick flash report. That we will be doing the Patreon Tuesday on Wednesday because of technical difficulties. I'm working it out, but I'll make sure I have all of the content up for our Wednesday. Just a quick note for our family members on Patreon and our YouTube champions. We'll break down the film. Anyway, shout out to you guys. Just a little quick something for you as we get ready to progress to week number 3 and get ready for the Seattle Sea Chickens. The Saints will get tested on their first road game of the season. Perhaps dome cooking wasn't what these guys needed to execute. Maybe they needed to be a little bit more rougher surroundings, man. And hey, man, we'll head for that. But anyway, shout out to you guys. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. Big Q in this thing. We talking black and gold today, man. This was an article. Shout out to Bob Rose, man. This one right here is entitled The Good, the Bad, the Ugly from the Saints last night. And they had a lot of good and bad in this that happened during this thing, just to be honest with y'all guys. And y'all guys know it like I know it, that the Saints have to do better, man. And we're going to talk about it. Anyway, let's get right into it, man. The good and the bad in this one, right? Saints Wire. This is a situation where we know the first week Saints had the game. They had a banged up opponent that took it, that they couldn't get advantage 26-21. The opening drive was scoring position. The Chris Olave touchdown drop. The Blake Group A missed field goal. You add these points. That's 10 points the Saints left off the board. You talk about them being without Purdy, about not having Kittles or Brandon Ayuk. Those guys missing. There's some of their key people. But 10 points, your Saints win. What's the good? Kamara led all rushers at 99 yards on the ground, added 21 more on 6 catches. He didn't reach the end zone, lost the fumble after a catch that was a questionable possession and needs to be used more as a wide receiver. Now you can see the throw was kind of a throw that Elvin was in a weird position. They kind of pinned it on the back of his helmet. Should just let the, that was just a tough one. It's a tough one, but Elvin ultimately fumbled the ball. The possession went to the 49ers. They took it back and scored. Hopefully, we've only seen the tip of the iceberg of what Kamara accomplished, but that was a positive. The first game, we didn't see the Saints have Elvin Kamara used. You can see Kellen Moore more specifically featured Elvin Kamara in this game, almost 100 yards rushing. And like he said, 6 catches to go on with that. You got to keep trending with that. Also, another positive is the fact that Carl Granderson in 2 games has 3.5 sacks after taking the quarterback down twice in this matchup. They also played the run pretty decently, holding Christian McCaffrey on the ground, right? They did a good job in stopping McCaffrey, but the defense, special teams and the defense got lit up on the other end when it came down to the plays in stopping. The Saints were really kind of not what we wanted to see insofar as them, how they played on defense. But anyway, Carl Granderson, 3.5 sacks on the year. That's a positive. Spencer Rattler had a good game insofar as like if Chris Olave catches that pass, the Saints win this game. Juwan Johnson catches the pass in the first game. The Saints win this game. Rattler's giving his receivers opportunities to make plays. These guys are not executing. That's an issue. Rattler makes our good category because of his continued improvements. He still needs to push the ball further downfield and show better accuracy on these immediate routes to keep his job. Yeah, Spencer has to throw that ball in the middle range, meaning not in the middle of the field, but then toward the middle portion of the bodies of the receivers. If you see his ball has a downward trajectory when he's throwing it, forcing receivers to get low, and that basically robs them of an opportunity to turn upfield and make a play. So he has to be better with his accuracy as far as that concerned. Rattler made some gutsy plays with his legs, probably had the most efficient game of his short career. He was victimized by 4 drops and sketchy protection, but managed to complete 25 of 34 for a career best 3 touchdowns. Rattler only threw a 207 in those two. If he would have had 4 touchdown passes in this game, it just mind boggles me, man. The man had 3 touchdowns in the game. Could have been 4 on or over 200 yards. So like I said, these concentration drops we talk about with Jawan Johnson, you've seen him a couple of times in the game, but Chris Olave has to make that catch. And of course he did well, but flash the tools for Kellen Moore to build around going forward if he shows continued development. Spencer Rattler is actually doing a pretty good job. A lot of people we're looking to kind of falter and kind of throw it on him. You can't put it on Spencer Rattler, the Saints out of thing. He's given them an opportunity to play. To be honest with you, he's doing a pretty decent job of moving the ball around. Like I said, he has to improve on his accuracy. But for right now, Spencer Rattler, fam, if you look at Spencer Rattler's numbers right now as it stands, Spencer Rattler's 421 yards. That's 19th in the NFL. He has 3 touchdowns. That's tied for 9th. No interceptions, but his rating has to improve. It's 57.5, which is 17th in the NFL. So Spencer Rattler, no interceptions through 2 games, 3 touchdowns. That's pretty good. 421. He got to attack downfield a little bit more. We had a few plays, but it's improvement. Now let's go to the bad. Group A missed the field goal. Group B missed the field goal for the 2nd straight week. He also struggled with accuracy on kickoffs. For a team with a limited offense, they have to be able to count on their kicker to put points on the board. It might not be time to replace Group A just yet, but the conversation must at least be brought up in Saints headquarters. If Blake Grupe came into the training camp and he was awesome, he was the camp MVP in my opinion. Then when the game turned on, Group A's missing field goals. I mean, chip shot field goals. The 37-yarder, that's ridiculous. The one he missed last week, ridiculous. Blake Grupe has to hit these field goals. He has to hit them. And there's a knock on him about the fact that if the pressure's on, Blake Grupe is going to end up missing a field goal. So Grupe has to hit these damn field goals, man. That's the bottom line. That's the skinny. The second half pass rush was non-existent. Saints were able to disrupt Jones very little over the last 2 quarters outside of the key strip sack by Chris Rump. Granderson and Brian Bresee both had strong standout games, but each were quieter in the second half. The team got very little pressure from anyone else, something that hopefully improves if Chase Young returns from injury. Chase Young or not, the Saints have to be able to manufacture pressure against Mac Jones. Not enough blitzing of Mac Jones in the second half. And the guy sat back and he almost did his Brock Purdy impression. He carved the Saints up. We can't have that, man. And then, of course, the bad coverage. Linebacker Pete Werner was awful in space. The secondary was downright abysmal against San Fran. Backup Mac Jones evoked memories of Joe Montana in the 80s. The Saints secondary was mostly helpless against Ricky Parasol and Jawan Jennings, and 2 blocking tight ends, making them look like Jerry Rice, John Taylor, and Brett Jones. While McCaffrey ran free and clear through the secondary as a receiver. Jones completed 26 of 39 for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns and no pick. That is inexcusable. The Saints were soft in coverage. It would just look bad, man. And especially in the second half, they were non-aggressive in getting coverage. Getting pressure to the quarterback. You can't let the guy sit back there. And if you're going to play off, at least make plays. They mostly played a lot of this soft-ass zone stuff they was running, and it just was a bad look. It was non-aggressive. They needed to be more of a tack dog like they were in the first game when they were blitzing the shit out of Kyler Murray, forcing them out. It was not enough of that from the defense, and the 49ers were able to move the ball quite easily against the Saints defense. They need to correct that. The ugly was Isaac Yiadom. The secondary was already vilified, but Yiadom played so poorly that he deserved his own category. Poorish angles, missed tackles. It was him and Alontae Taylor too. Let's throw Alontae in there too. San Fran repeatedly retargeted him with almost perfect success, either by penalty or critical completions, invoking memories of abysmal cornerback play from Brandon Brown and Fred Weary, Jason David. The Saints don't have many options here, but may want to strongly consider Yiadom snaps with more reps to rookie Quincy Riley or even Alontae Taylor playing more at the outside cornerback position. I say that we need to kind of look at maybe doing that, moving Alontae outside and giving Quincy Riley an opportunity to play. I like Yiadom coming here, but I really didn't see Yiadom as stronger than what Quincy Riley could be. Remember, the Saints were trying to get a much better cornerback that they weren't able to secure. He went elsewhere, and they kind of settled on Isaac Yiadom. Now, we'll see how it all works. But Quincy Riley, to me, they drafted him for a reason. We knew that eventually, at some point this year, Quincy Riley would more than likely step up and take a larger role in the secondary for the Saints. He was solid in training camp, and might as well get him on out there. We got Jonas Sanker, who had a very strong game for the Saints in secondary, despite the secondary overall was abysmal. But Quincy Riley, you might have to take a look at him there. I mean, you most certainly couldn't do any worse. And then, of course, the ugly was situational football. New Orleans played well on defense against the Cardinals and showed some offensive improvement against the Niners, where they had been awful in both weeks, had been situational football, all three phases, missed field goals, penalties, not taking advantage of field position opportunities, awful execution on third downs, and the primary reason for the team is 0-2. Against San Fran, the Saints were 4 of 11 on third down offensively with 2 drop passes, 2 sacks, and a turnover. Conversely, the 49ers converted 8 of the 15 third downs that included all 3 of Jones' touchdown passes. Above all else, Kellen Moore's squad must improve on third downs and their overall execution in key situations if they're going to put themselves in positions to win football game. So shout out to Bob. Bob, your great minds think alike. I agree. Bob hit on it perfectly. That's why Bob's one of my favorite Saints beat writers. But outside of that, the really interesting option or idea of what we're talking about when we're dealing with the New Orleans Saints and what they need to do to improve is quite simple. The Saints have a key problem in execution. That's the bottom line. They're not disciplined, and they're not completing and handling the business like they're supposed to. The major issue with New Orleans is execution. It's not lack of personnel. It's not weak quarterback play. Even though Spencer can play better, he's doing a very solid game. I showed you the stats. The problem with the Saints is they must learn to execute better. That's the problem that we need to do better in that area of it. The Saints must execute when thrown the ball. Chris Olave catches that touchdown pass. The Saints win the game. Blake Grupe can't keep missing field goals. This is not the way it's supposed to work. These guys are pros. These are guys that have been here for years. They have to be, and these are some of our best players, guys that's getting big money. That's not making the play. It ain't Mason Tipton dropping it. It's not Divine Valley dropping it. It's the Saints' best wide receiver, Chris Olave, dropped the touchdown pass that could have won the game. It's their best and most, their best and players that they are counting on are not stepping up. The offensive line is creaky. We do know that Tali Fuaga needs to be reevaluated because he couldn't even barely bend, which was really interesting with that last 2 drives where the Saints had 2 opportunities to march the field, and both of those drives ended with the 49ers sacking the quarterback and sacking the Saints out of an opportunity. They had twice. Defense did well enough to be able to give the Saints 2 opportunities on the back end of the game, and the offensive line could not stand up. Now, it's a lot to ask Kelvin Banks Jr. to step against Bosa, but he did a decent job in trying to do that. This other stuff, like Tali Fuaga definitely needs to be set down. That knee he barely could bend, and he's more of a liability than anything out there. The problem is the Saints have to then go to the bench. So you got 2 backups that's going to come in. But Tali Fuaga, man, we have to really look at Tali, because I don't think it's a long season. We might have to kind of sit him down for a couple games. The Saints might have to rely on the backup that they traded from. And Asim Richards, I know he's not nearly where Tali is, but Tali with that knee issue is a liability. I'm sorry to say, fam. We're going to have to really look at that thing. And of course, outside of that, man, as we get ready to get on up out of here, just to drop a little game on y'all and to talk about that, is the fact that the Saints, dealing with an injured situation, dealing with Vernon Broughton. Vernon Broughton is going to be out for the rest of the season, man. And it's a shame that Vernon Broughton is going to miss it. But the Saints, man, what can I tell y'all? It's just one of those situations where you see these players, and Vernon Broughton, we had another a player that we thought could really help. But he's pretty much with this hip situation. Vernon Broughton's going to look like he'll be out for the season. So this is straight up from Yard Barker, Saints 3rd round pick, out for the season with hip injury. So while the New Orleans Saints head coach learned the ropes here and said goodbye to the city, also Moore have to deal with an injury. The 2025 third-round pick who's out for the season with a hip injury. They lost Vernon Broughton. This is according to Mike Garafolo, that the Saints rookie expected to miss the rest of the season with a hip injury. And that's the thing. He got 24 snaps yesterday, and that's a hit to the Saints defensive line. So, Broughton was kind of a rough guy, but the Saints, brung him in at the third-round pick. But he'll just have to rehab and come back next year. NFL teams need depth. That's especially true on the defensive line. They already have John Ridgeway, the third on IR. They're left with defensive tackle Devine Gacho, Brian Brasile, along with backups Nate Shepard and Christian Boyd. The Saints are trying to get more competitive on defense. The unit finished 31st in the run and 27th against the pass and 30th overall last year. Moore brought in D coordinator Staley to change things. So in the end, with Vernon Broughton being hurt and going down with the injury, it's quite simple that the Saints will just have to pivot and do something different, man, from the defensive standpoint. So let me bring that up quickly. As you can see with poor Vernon Broughton being hurt, he's done. You see Jonathan Bullard will have a larger role. Christian Boyd is there. Nate Shepard. With Vernon Broughton and Ridgeway out, that'll force the Saints to kind of look at the practice squad, man, and see who they got, or perhaps bring in somebody. Well, we know Chase Young will return. He'll help out with the edge duties. But as it stands, man, we'll take a look at the practice squad right here. You see the defensive ends that's available there. There for Dill Diggs, Garrett Nelson, who the team brung in from the University of Nebraska, first year men. They picked him up. Defensive tackle Kozai Izzard, who's a 6'3", 305-pounder from Penn State. Remember, the Saints did pick him up as well from a defensive standpoint. So those are the defensive linemen the Saints currently have. If Fadil Diggs, Garrett Nelson, and Kozai Izzard, this could be the guys that they kind of pivot to kind of bring on if with Vernon Broughton being out. Could Jonah Williams be the guy that they use, or could Izzard be the guy they bring in? So the Saints could do this, or they can just pivot to free agency and see if they can find somebody out there as well. We'll see what they do moving forward. But losing Vernon Broughton is a tough one, man. Broughton, a young player with a lot of talent, a guy that can play inside, outside. But with him missing the rest of the season with an injury, it's going to be a tough one for the black and gold. But like in the NFL, man, you got to adjust and you got to keep it pushing. That's one thing you got to do if you're the New Orleans Saints. You have to adjust and keep it pushing. And the Saints do have some guys that are available that is on the practice squad and available in free agency if they need to utilize these guys. Kellen Moore has to do it and find out. And we need to, like I said, we need to get back to doing what we're supposed to do, handling the business like we're supposed to handle, man. And we should have some success. All right. So anyway, with that being said, man, listen, it's just 2 weeks in, man. It's still a long, very season for the black and gold, and things have to change, man. And Saints got to stop shooting themselves in the foot. That's the bottom line. Both of these games, I hate to say the shoulda, woulda thing, but both of these games were insane hands, and they fumbled and stumbled them away, each one of them. And that has to change. These guys have to make the catches and make the damn blocks and do what they're supposed to do and stop hamstringing themselves. The moment they stop doing that, they'll pick up wins. But how do the Saints respond in hostile territory? They didn't take advantage of wins in the nice, comfy surroundings and supportive surroundings of the Superdome. How do they look in hostile territory and Sea Chicken Land, or when they go to Buffalo Wild Wings up there in Buffalo and handle their business? How is that going to look? Can the Saints get back to winning? Can the Saints win and get their first win of the season against Seattle? Can they then go to Buffalo and get a win? Or the Saints could find themselves in an 0-4 hole in 2 weeks. Boys, you don't want to go there. So even though you're not hitting the panic button because it's way too early, you have to have a certain sense of urgency. Urgency should be at a high level right now if you're the New Orleans Saints. Not panic, but urgency, because you do not want to go into the season with an 0-3 record. It is very difficult to do that. So the Saints must pick up a win in the tough surroundings of Seattle and be challenged in Buffalo. They got to elevate their play and they must execute is the point of the day. All right. So anyway, I'm going, man. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on social media feed. I'm Big Q, represent the Sports Coma, the mighty Who Dat Nation. Like I said, we'll have the film breakdown and all the rest available, not today, but on Wednesday. I promise you guys, I'll have it ready for you on Wednesday. So be looking out for that. Much love, Who Dat Team. Peace.